Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to quickly come on here and share with you my review of the Mufasa Lion King movie that's currently in theaters. So this movie is based out of Mufasa's life and how he became the Mufasa we know in Lion King, right? So I was so amazed by the quality of the production, the songs, the actors and actresses, the screenplay, the songwriter. Everything was just top tier, and I think I'm gonna watch the movie again. I wanted to come on here just to share some lessons. So I'm gonna try maybe do lessons from the characters, both Mufasa, Scar, and Sarabi, and also Simba, Mufasa's parents, and Taka's mother. Okay, I'm gonna try and merge some of them together, but for this video today I want to talk to you guys about Mufasa. So we all know Mufasa. He was the king, and we love his story, but we actually didn't know him. When I remember watching The Lion King as a child back in 1994, I knew that he was the king and he was Simba's dad. He was married to Sarabi and he had friends, Timon and Pumbaa. So that's how, and he was very, very well respected. He had character, he was sound, he stood against what was wrong, and him and Scar had a history, and Scar was an outcast, but he was around to live in the area but not within the circle. So that's what I knew about him. So I did have that respect for the character behind the man Simba. So as we look into the movie, I'm going to try and correlate some of the things I honestly think are inspired by the Bible, and this is my review. And as and when you become a child of God, you see a lot of snapshots of just everyday life from the Bible. Okay, first of all, Mufasa was an outcast himself. So now that we watched the movie, we all know that he didn't become a king just because his parents were like royalty. No, he was an outcast because he got lost as a young lion, and then he was found, and then events leading him to be a king. You need to go watch the movie. I'm not going to mention everything. What I wanted to talk about, the fact that he was found in the river by Taka, says a lot about when you think about the story of Moses, how he was also found by Pharaoh's daughter in the river. And even when he became a king, not Moses, Joseph. So I'm going to speak about different characters that I honestly feel that this story was inspired by from the Bible. So Joseph was a king in a foreign land. Eventually Mufasa becomes a king in a foreign land, which is such a Joseph story. And then what I also picked up about Mufasa's character, because now he felt like he was an outcast, and he was already an adopted son. He had to like downplay his character, not his character, but his gifts as a person. So he felt like he had to shy away from how good he was, and the relationship that he had with Taka, aka Scar, he had to protect it and not to make Taka feel like he's also not as good as he is. And the actual fact is he wasn't. Taka wasn't. There's a part in the movie that I love that that Sarabi talks about. She says that maybe it was Taka's purpose to bring you, Mufasa, here. And for me, I love that, because sometimes we all think that our purpose needs to be big, that we need to be on stage, that we need to be in these big positions, that we need to have these big communities and everything. Those things are good and well, but you know what? Not all of us are meant to be doing those things. God has called us to different purpose. Some of you and myself, some of us are called to be in the backstage. make sure the lighting is looking good for the person who's going to be speaking on the stage. And that was Tucker's purpose. However, not to make him feel less than, we see that Mufasa develops that inferior, I gotta make my brother look good, even though I know I'm better than him. I just need to protect him, not to make him feel like he's left out or anything like that. And this really stood out for me, because how many times in our relationships we have downplayed ourselves just to make friends, colleagues, communities feel better about themselves, right? But you will downplay your gifts, what you are able to bring into the room, because you don't want to come across as having know it all, which you might actually know it all. So I also picked up that from the movie and just in real life, and how we also see how it plays out. And then another thing that I also really loved was the role that so now I'm mixing everything, but it's still with regards to Mufasa, the role that Tucker's mom played in Mufasa's life, because he stayed with the females when he was growing up, because Tucker's father didn't want him to stay amongst the men, because he was on the notion that Tucker will be the king after he has gone. So he then belittled, he thought he was belittling Mufasa by making him stay with the females, so Tucker's mom and the other lioness. But him staying with the other lioness helped him grow as a person as well, because the women were teaching him how to hunt, and he became more merciful and more graceful around Tucker's mom. I forgot her name. So they developed this relationship, this connection, which is just so beautiful. Which, again, though, both of them try to cover up the fact that Mufasa is better than Tucker. And it's not to compare either or, but he was called to be a leader in a bigger stage in comparison to Tucker, but it was never clearly called out in the movie. Anyway, so another part that I also found that was interesting in the movie was just the fellowship between obviously Mufasa and Tucker, and Tucker knowing him, saying that he's always wanted a brother. There's a soundtrack that I love that's around I always wanted a brother. And it just shows how community intimacy is so important, even in the midst of people trying to divide you. Okay, as kids, Tucker is very clear, I need Mufasa in my life, even though my dad is like, no, you mustn't entertain a stray, you are going to be a king, stop hanging around him. He didn't have that in his mind. So anyway, his father, Tucker's father, pushed him to in my opinion, maybe I can mix both Mufasa and Tucker here. In my opinion, based on what I've seen in the movie, Scar didn't become Scar by himself. His father pushed him to be the person he was. Not entirely, but in the beginning of his early childhood, his father was keep on pushing the agenda that you are better, that you are the king, that you need to be better than Mufasa, and he also did it in a way that was very condescending, very scheming. And even though Tucker at that age wasn't very mindful what his dad was doing, it did kind of affect him later on as an adult. Okay, and then another part of the movie that I found very interesting was just how then the importance, okay, I think this is the most important part of the movie, the importance of knowing your purpose and knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, and letting people be. Because Mufasa was playing that role of always trying to make Tucker look good, not letting him lose when he actually needed to lose. Tucker felt entitled to having what Mufasa was rightfully supposed to have. It goes by saying even having Sarabi as his wife, right? Mufasa was meant to have Sarabi as his wife, not Tucker, even though Mufasa was trying to make Tucker look good in front of Sarabi. And then another beautiful thing about what I learned about the movie, having a woman like Sarabi as a partner, as a wife, to remind the husband or the partner that this is what you are good at, this is who you are, I see what you can do. Because the role of the woman in the Bible and how God wants us to be as women is to be helpers. She brings out that king in Mufasa, and she rightfully corrects him that I see what you're doing with Taka, but this is what you did. And that's why I even said in the beginning of the video is that Sarabi was able to call out that this was not his purpose. Maybe his purpose was to bring you here so you can be the king. So that was something that I picked up from the movie, which was like, girl, look at you out here being a helper. And then finally, something that I wanted to just chill on in the video. So I think I'm mixing everybody, guys. It's not going to be a part 1, part 2. Maybe there's going to be a part 2 just in case I think of something. At the end of the day, we all must be careful of our vices. The things that we know are our weaknesses that could, you know, really rear us off the road if we don't manage it. You know, that's why every day you can't say you have arrived in this thing called life, because we see this with Taka's character as it evolves to be eventually be Scar. Like I mentioned earlier on, he didn't become Scar like that. It happened gradually. And the what you call this, that covetousness, that lie that he built in his heart, he felt like he was a rightful king, even though people were making him look good. You know, sometimes you need to be honest and tell, stop trying to cover up for me, I know I'm not good, stop it. You need to be able to do that, because you don't want to live a lie, right? But in conclusion, what I want to say is, especially when it comes to Scar, I really, and obviously Mufasa, I really have sympathy for Scar now, because Otaka, he didn't become the person he was just like that. He was taught this as a young man, and then he also allowed covetousness, jealousy to foster in his heart. So when the opportunity to betray his best friend, his brother or half brother, he did it. And that's when the enemy comes in. The other prides of lion that were in the middle of dividing them, they were able to use Taka as a weapon against Mufasa, because Taka felt rightfully like he could get all he wanted in that way, because already there's a history of covetousness, being told this is yours, even though it wasn't the right way of going about it. There was a repository of this is mine. Dad always said I could do this, even though Dad wasn't teaching me properly in terms of how to obtain certain things in life. And then there was jealousy of Mufasa has this woman that I wanted, and now they've betrayed me. In actual fact, she wasn't supposed to be even yours, because the reason why Sarabi was thinking that you were that guy is because Mufasa pretended to not protect her in the place of making Taka look good. So everything that he thought was his was all built in a lie, and he also knew it. But when it came an opportunity to betray Mufasa, he did it, because already he was compromised. He was compromised in terms of his jealousy, his desire for power, and just everything that comes with betrayal, how the enemy can use you to betray your own family, jealousy, division, you know, thinking somebody else's life should be yours. Everything was like coming at Taka in one place, and then that one person that says, you know what, I can help you, you can help me, let's get rid of this guy called Mufasa. And that could happen to anybody. It can happen to you and me, especially if we are not careful of our vices, if we are not careful of our weaknesses. In First Peter, it's First Peter 5:7 or 4:7, somewhere there, it says that the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. The enemy is always looking out, how can I use a child of God to betray his destiny by doing 1, 2, and 3. And in this movie, we see how Taka becomes Scar. It didn't happen like that, but the enemy was seeking him in every opportunity, planting seeds, planting stories in his head, lies. And even though he loved his brother, at the back of his head, because he wasn't putting down the stronghold of covetousness, of wanting other people's life, of making people always cover up for him, he wasn't owning up to his own reality. When the time came to betray his own brother, he used it, he took it, right? So this movie was awesome, right? As much as it's an old school, Lion King has been around for almost 30 years. I watched it when I was probably 8, 7, around there. No, probably I was like, yeah, probably 8, 7. And I remember my heart was shattered when Mufasa, was let go by Scar, and I hated Scar. But in this movie, I actually felt sorry for Scar. And then I also honored. I felt rightfully placed to have honor for Mufasa as a character, because he eventually rightfully takes up his space as a king and owns up to the fact that, no, I am good. I'm able to, God has given me these gifts. I'm able to sense things more better than anybody else. I am different. Because before, in the movie, he tries to shut that down, tries to belittle himself so to make Taka feel more comfortable with his inefficiencies. And that's why, as children of God, you need to own the gifts and strengths that God has given you. You mustn't downplay them, you mustn't hide them. You must walk tall in your purpose, and don't try and cower and like downplay your gifts. And because that's what Mufasa did for a long time as well, to make Taka look good, right? So this is Lion King, the Mufasa review from a biblical perspective. And just, yeah, go watch the movie if you haven't watched the movie. It is the best. I think it's the best movie for 2024. I only was able to watch it now, but please go watch it. Everybody needs to watch it. Mom, dad, kids, everybody. There's a message for everyone in that movie. Anyway, guys, have an awesome day. Bye.